Hey everyone, Fatty from Pack a Punch Traders here. Hope everyone has had a good long weekend. Usually hate these 3-day weekends, but sometimes it's good to take a break. So back to it now. I didn't make any video lesson or go over anything over the weekend. So let's go over you. This was my loss to wrap up the week on Friday. I traded in the morning, but I didn't really see anything else later in the day that really made me want to come back and trade. So I decided to just call it early and just have a bit longer of a weekend. Since there wasn't anything, I didn't want to risk my money. And here with you, all I saw was a failure to break down, and I was looking for it to hold up around VWAP here, make a higher low, and then from there break past towards high day at least, and then burst higher. Where on the daily chart, next resistance around 4. So I was just looking for a trade from the low threes to the high threes, maybe 4-ish area. Just locking a quick 10-15%, closer to 15 ideally, but didn't shape up. As you can see, not much volume, and I had the live trade on this recorded, and I went over how it kind of had conflicting factors. It's making lower highs, volume isn't too bad, but it isn't fantastic after I saw the little fade here. But what really kind of sucked me in to at least take a small starter position was the higher lows, low float on a Friday, and it already failed to break down and held open price. So was thinking let's just give it a shot. So took it at 333 for with 200 shares, and maybe a minute later I'm selling it for a loss at 314. Yeah, on the bounce, I'm pretty sure it's when I ended up getting out. Um, but yeah, it just didn't shape up. Was aware of the conflicting factors, and usually I stay away from that. But I couldn't help myself, so I decided to just go in with super small size where it doesn't affect me if I take a loss. $38 loss, not bad at all. Um, just didn't shape up. It is what it is. Should have recognized it and been more convinced that it would fail, but had a little bit of FOMO. So to please that part of my mind, I just went in 200 shares. So, and it ended up failing the rest of the day. Nothing strong, no volume, no movement. That's really everything I talk about. And a good example of that would be as well. One second. There's a recent spiker. One second. I need to go through the plays here. I'm pretty sure I'll remember the ticker when I see it. Is it Sarah? No. Um, but here we are, SERE. This would be one that I would compare this to. The initial one that I was thinking of. It will come to me. It will come to me. Oh my god, what is it? Really? I'm looking at all these. Nothing. Dang it. He just recently failed too. Whatever. I don't want to just keep looking around for a play. Oh god. But if anyone remembers it, maybe someone else does. It was it had a strong first green day, and I was looking for the continuation. And it's not SRNE. It was a different play. And then I kept talking about how this can keep going further. It's okay that it's breaking out, but there's no volume, so these kinds of plays end up failing randomly and just plummeting, and you might have a hard time getting out. It just keeps pushing lower. It's just a scary crash out of nowhere, or you're just gonna get a very choppy, slow grinding move. Um, One second. I'm coming back to this. I need to find it. Okay, I found it. XPON. Ah, that took forever. Um, Here we are. We had that breakout setting up, but it was low volume and it couldn't keep pushing higher. Well, it could, but it was very low volume, and it kept fading. And I kept talking about this is a very risky play. We're on day 2, day 3 of a push higher, and volume keeps fading, and it's a breakout on low volume, showing weakness behind the play, uncertainty. As you can see, it's very choppy as it breaks through. Besides this one strong move, after that, it just has a hard time breaking past forward. Each time it pushes higher, it gets pushed down essentially. There's just a lot of back and forth, indecision in the play. It's not one sided. There isn't a bunch of buyers propping this up and supporting this play. Um, so this is what ends up happening. You get some garbage like this. This does look like it is almost like news of an offering or something, but even if it's not that, it just makes sense. There's just nobody supporting the play. So when people have enough of this and a bit more sellers come through and overdo the buyers, you get an aggressive pullback like this. So just wanted to go over the importance of volume, and let's see if I can remember where I even was in this video lesson going over. Okay, so we went from this fades, yada yada yada, no volume, and then that just made me think of the importance of it, I guess, and how recently we had this breakout slowly chopping higher, and I just warned that it would fail, and I guess I just took my eye off it and didn't see this failure here, or else I would have definitely talked about this. Because I did warn about this in the past. If you go to video lessons from last week, so XPON, good lesson on that. We also had SRNE. This was a good call of mine, but didn't run as far as I thought. I thought we can get back to the mid 30s, maybe even high 30s or 40 region, where there is a bit more resistance here, but just had a slow move past that 27 confirmation. As we can see, it is still holding up. It can trigger a move higher still, but that's not what I'm really looking for. There are other better plays to watch. This now is over and done with for me, but good call with recognizing the key level around 27 and how if it can confirm that area and have a bit of volume, we can get a push, but it didn't have enough demand to really take this thing to levels where I thought it could. So here it is on the daily, what it looks like. This was a good first green day for that bounce. Looking at an open price VWAP per claim. And then when it got stuffed, looked for continuation if it can hold up. As you can see, good demand, but yeah, it's just not enough. So it is what it is. Just that's why we take our quick little piece, even from that 27 confirmation. It gave roughly 20% move. So just taking a quick 10-15%, locking in your quick gains and letting them add up over time. That's the smartest thing to do, because this would have been something I'd be thinking, okay, next key resistance isn't until the mid 30s. Let's wait for it to get to there. And we end up getting stuck in this chop and stuff around 31, 32. So Friday was just pretty quiet. Just another confirmation of, you know, momentum is kind of shifting here in the market. We're getting lighter plays. I pretty sure I mentioned this in the previous video lesson, if I remember correctly, from Thursday, maybe Wednesday, if you go back to that. But yeah, I just feel a bit of a momentum shift, and I'm starting to play things a bit more conservatively and just take the quick gains and not let it run a bit longer. So we'll see. Of course, we'll just take it one day at a time and react to what the market offers. I'm not just gonna try and predict what it does and stick to that and not trade at all and play scared when there are still opportunities if they do show up. So I guess that's my little spiel of the day. Focus on volume, as we saw with XPON. That was a good lesson. Um, as well as stay away from conflicting factors. And if you are emotional, go in with super small size to please that part of your mind and still stay protected. Here's a good example on UUU of conflicting factors, really setting it up as a gamble. It's really not one sided. It could go either way. In this case, I took a small loss, um, as well as take it one day at a time. I am recognizing momentum is shifting, but that doesn't mean there won't be any plays. Just be a little pickier. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We'll just get into the top plays for tomorrow. We got TMDI. This is a decent play setting up for a potential multi-day bounce. Spiked just under 150%. So I will qualify this as a multi-day bounce. Decently off the highs. Volume is fading. It did push lower on Friday, but not by much. So that's very nice to see. Accompanied with lighter selling pressure, with what could be a fake out breakdown. We'll see how it sets up. As you can see here, push lower, but had a hard time so far really breaking past new lows. So could prop up here, be a fake out breakdown, and we get a nice reversal tomorrow. As usual, look for the high day break after some consolidation. When it holds itself up for a few minutes, it just shows that it's able to support itself and not break down and push to new lows. So that's why I look for a little bit of consolidation and a break of the high day compared to what we've been seeing the past couple of days where it gets stuffed here. It has a little fake out past high day, but it gets stuffed and pushes lower. And here we are just fading using VWAP as resistance. So maybe that's another indicator. Look for it to start maybe using VWAP as support and holding that area. Start making higher lows instead of lower highs. Just any momentum shift. So that's going to be TMDI. Same deal with IVDA. We've been watching this for a couple of days now. Decently off the highs. Excuse me. But making a higher low, even though it got stuffed again. Not breaking down, still holding up the 130s, decently off the highs. Let's see volume, how that's looking. Lighter selling pressure, so could be showing some indication that sellers are having a hard time pushing it lower and they're weakening, and momentum could shift. So keep an eye on that. Speaking of multi-day bounces, one thing that actually came to mind was the VLON. I always talk about how the first bounce is usually the strongest, and right now we have a good example of that with VLON. We had an incredible bounce here going from, we'll call it 65, ends up topping out next morning around 104. And then here we are on Friday, failing to break down again, using the 60s as a key support area. And that leads to, I guess, some dip buyers and shorts covering here, but not as much. It's a weaker bounce so far. This is typically what I talk about when going over the multi-day bounce. We're usually focusing on that first reversal. Imagine a bouncing ball. Usually that first bounce is going to have the strongest bounce, and then from there it just keeps fading until the momentum dies. Um, of course, if some good news comes back, that can completely change the outlook on it and it can keep pushing higher. But usually that first bounce is what we're looking for, and I just wanted to show VLON as a pretty good example of it. But yeah, back to the watch list. So we got those two out of the way, the multi-day bounces, and now we got APGN. Not bad of a first green day on Friday here. We got breaking out of a range, way off of the highs, kind of just bouncing. Not a super high float, but not that low either. A little bit of a perk in demand if we are going to continue and reclaim previous day high and turn that into support and give us a possible push to the next resistance area, whole dollar, half dollar level of 2. After that, 225, but playing it one level at a time. That still gives us some decent range, around 30 cents to play with. That offers an opportunity for 10-15%. So APGN looking for the reclaim of 171 for it to push to 2. But as I talk about a lot, demand will be key. Right now, decent perk, light volume though. That's probably why, as you can see, the price action not incredible. Each push just gets stuffed. It gets it's kind of choppy. It is making higher lows, but ultimately this thing is low volume. I'm not really liking the way it's moving so far. So would like to see a failure to break down, and for that to invite more buyers, more shorts covering their positions, leading to more buying, and that could give us the burst we need to squeeze from the 170s to the 2 region if it can get back there and make that area support with strong demand. So a bunch of ifs, but still I think a decent play to put on watch for tomorrow. And if it doesn't shape up, oh well, we'll see something from one of the gappers or the one of the other top plays on watch. But that's APGN, just looking for a simple failure to break down, reclaim key areas, and for it to squeeze higher. AKAN here for the past week or so, just a slow grind after bottoming around 20. Solid push at the end of last month, going from 20 cents to 65. I want to say I play this for a bounce play. This is looking like a solid opportunity here. And of course, that first bounce is usually the best. But here we are, grinding back. And the past few days, the high 20s, 30 region is showing to be, proving to be solid resistance. So what I'm looking for is a reclaim of that area, turn that area into support. It isn't that large of a float, and it's been slowly increasing in volume. If we can see demand really come back and a reclaim of the 30-cent region, I don't see why we can't test 35, 36, maybe 40, but I would be happy with it testing the mid 30s. That would offer 10, 15%. So just locking your quick gains, just taking it from one key area we're trying to enter at and sell into the next resistance level. So just playing the key prices here. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing with this chart. It is holding up decently. We got this lower wick here, but comes right back, finishes near the high a day, which is right around the previous day's high. So looking not too bad with the higher lows that it's making and just failure to break down. But what will be very important for any play to happen here, you guessed it, demand coming back. So if it reclaims, but there's not much volume with it, I'll probably just ignore it. If it can move, it can move. Oh well. But I really would like to get the odds on my side, and that's usually going to be where there are eyes, and that's going to be reflected with volume, how the volume is. So we'll just wrap it up there. Hope everyone had a great weekend, studied up, um, just refreshed on past week's performance, going over what you need to